Hey everyone, so this is video number 2 of the propane refill. For this one I have to show my face, which I hate, but it's cold enough that I need a scarf, and but it's warm enough that I'm not having to worry about the propane getting messed up. So anyways, in the first video I showed you how to set up everything, and I just wanted to notate that because the thread on the propane cylinder right here, this connection is reverse threaded, and this one is normal threaded, which means righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The other one is the opposite of that. When you tighten your little 1 pound cylinder on this one, you have to make sure that this is really tight, which I don't like over tightening things because I have carpal tunnel and I hate having to untighten, which is why it's awesome to have a wrench. So anyways, that's just an adjustable one, and so this isn't the best angle. This is like the worst angle, but it'll do for what I need to do. My farm cat, wants to be right under my feet. This is Red. They're all named after Final Fantasy VII characters. So anyways, I got my propane tank, and I have my propane bottle. I'm gonna do one without a label because I want to show you the condensation that builds up on these. So you put the bottle on the cylinder, and like I said, this is righty-tighty, so you just have to make sure the threads line up and then just tighten it down. My cat right there, she just wants to be right where I'm at. For barn cats, they're ridiculously friendly, which is kind of annoying because they want to be like under your feet all the time. Anyway, here's the cylinder. It's connected. I have it nice and tight. Remember, you don't want to over tighten this because as you turn it to the right, you're actually loosening the connection on the propane cylinder itself. Red, seriously, you're messing up the video, cat. You do not play with that. Go over there. Shoo shoo. So it's connected, and then you just open the valve for the propane tank, which I usually like to do this on the tongue of my trailer, but I have it set up right now temporarily with my solar stuff in front of it, so I can't really do that. This is just on my toolbox, seriously, Red, and my photo bomber. And so I'm not able to easily reach underneath, which I usually have this on the triangular tongue so that I can reach underneath and easily undo it. But I just reach through the holes on the actual propane bottle where there's handles, and I just open it up, and you'll start to hear it hissing. You just want to kind of let it hiss it should hiss for about 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It just depends on the temperature outside. Red, seriously. Shoo. You're being a butt. Here's my farm dog also coming to say hello. She's sweetie. She's a blue heeler. So anyways, now that everybody is in my business because they're so curious as to what's going on, I don't know if you can still hear it hissing. It's just hissing just like the tiniest bit. So I'm going to close the valve at this point. And you don't have to open the valve completely. Like, you don't have to open it all the way. Remember that this is a 20 pound canister and this is a 1 pound canister. So this is 20 times more pressure inside of it than this. I don't like opening it all the way just because I don't want all of that pressure going into a 1 pound cylinder. I've never had any issues opening it all the way. It's just something that I like to err on the side of caution. So it's going to pop because you're going to release the pressure in between the canister and the nozzle, which always freaks me out. So the safety valve automatically closes this off, so you don't technically have to twist it closed. I just prefer to twist it closed because it makes me feel better. So this canister is not very full. The first fill, there's usually a lot of air inside of the canister. So I take my handy tool, which I usually use a Allen key wrench, but I know that most people don't have an Allen key wrench. A Q-tip, just a standard Q-tip with one side having the fuzzies removed, is the perfect tool for this because it's not too hard that you have to worry about damaging the mechanism inside. So this valve right here is the pressure release valve if there's too much pressure inside the canister. So that will pop or release pressure if there's too much pressure inside. Here's my cat playing with my hoodie. But this one is for the internal. So this is external, or this is for release, and this is for entering. So Red, chill, go over there. And so I just stick this, because this isn't, you're not going to get this in very easily. You might risk damaging that mechanism, so I don't recommend doing that. To be on the safe side, because I'm always on the safe side, you put your Q-tip in this area where you filled it, and just press it down very gently. You don't have to put very much pressure. When you hear the air releasing, you want to have the bottle as upright as possible because the propane is on the bottom. It's a liquid, so it's going to settle to the bottom. And this is releasing all of the air inside of the canister, and it's kind of, because there's a transfer, it's actually showing you, because propane transfers at a really low temperature. I think it's like negative 40 degrees, but don't quote me on that. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a scientist. But the propane actually makes frost on the bottle, so you can actually see where the amount is on the propane bottle. So that's where it's at. It's not even halfway full. The first filling usually isn't a very big fill. The second filling, I usually do this 2 or 3 times. I only want my canisters to be about 80% full, only because when you're filling these outside and the temperature is super, super cold, because cold weather or cold temperatures constrict things and hot temperatures make things expand. Hi, Becca. You don't want to have this leaking inside when the propane expands inside of it, because that pressure relief valve, when the pressure builds up inside of it, will release the propane. So I only fill it to 80%. That keeps it safe for me to bring it inside when it's super cold if my propane isn't working off of my trailer and I needed to use my buddy heater for an emergency fuel source. So I just reconnect it back to this container. Get the threads lined up if I can, because sometimes it's a pain in the butt. It's super cold too. Alright, so make that nice and tight, and then open it up again. And I don't know if you can hear it hissing from the bottle. So it's amazing how fast the condensation melts and then reforms. So it's actually melting. The condensation's melting super fast off the bottle. And then when it gets taken off and I purge it again, it'll freeze inside of the canister. So it's really cool. I love the science behind it. I'm a bit of a nerd, so it's really cool to see. But, you know, I think it's neat. Anyways, so can't remember which way to close this. Okay, so this is to close it. So close it off. And again, you don't have to close it every time if you don't want to. I just prefer to because I hate that sound. So sometimes I use this. However, mine isn't working because I don't know if it's a bad battery. It just keeps saying that it's full even when it's an empty canister. So I've gotten to the point where I can rely on the reactions of the bottle, like seeing where the frost is building up. It's a little bit more of a reliable source for me because I don't like relying on something I can't see. So one time I put that on an empty canister and it said it was full, and it wasn't. It was empty. I know it was empty. I purged the whole thing. So I'm drying the condensation off of this so I can purge it so you can see the reaction again. So that's the reason I wanted to get one without a label on it. So you just push this Q-tip, the part without the fuzzy on it. It's okay if there's a little bit of fuzzy. It's just so that it doesn't freeze, like this big fuzzy part doesn't freeze inside the canister, because this does transfer at a super cold temperature. And you just let it out. And you'll see the reaction on the canister. I can already feel my hand freezing. Ooh. Ooh. So my hand's kind of freezing to the container. So I don't know if you can see it very well. Shoo, kitty. But it's actually up to here now. The condensation is right here. You'll actually see frost buildup on the actual canister because it gets so cold. Like I said, it transfers so cold. So like my hand, I usually wear gloves for this, but my hand actually started freezing to the container like you would have because it has condensation on it, like you would if you licked a flagpole in the freezing weather. Like it actually froze to the container, and I have I have a little bit of skin on the container now. Anyway, that is how you fill a 1 pound canister from a 20 pound canister. I like to keep these outside for the most part in a plastic bin with a lid on it so that it keeps the moisture out of it, and keeps them off the ground because the moisture from the ground could affect them. And then I usually will bring one inside before so I'll have 2 canisters inside. I'll have one on my buddy heater and one being warmed up or defrosted from the outside weather, so it can adjust to the ambient temperature inside before I hook it up to the buddy heater. And the only reason I do that is because the transfer, whenever it's being used and it's being transferred into another container, the temperature varies so different, like it's so vast on the temperature differences. So I just want to make sure that it's adjusted and it's not adjusting and being, used it's not trying to adjust itself to the internal temperature and being like having a fluctuation on the temperature by being used. So anyways, I'm gonna do all of them like that. I hope that helps somebody. I've just been trying to post as many videos as I can about what I do to prepare for winter because I've been off grid for 2 years now, off and on, and winter is really stressful for me. I live, on a farm. We have no water, we have no electricity. I rely on solar and generator, and if we don't have heat, it's a big deal. So either this year or next year I'll be getting a wood stove because that helps with the condensation inside the RV. But there's my little RV behind me, and it's tiny. Like, it's less than 20 feet long. So probably about 16 feet actually, because the pole barn is 16 feet. No, it's about 20 feet. It's about 20 feet long. And it's fine for me. But and it's easy to heat because it doesn't have a pull out. Pull outs usually, like the slide outs usually, you lose a lot of heat and temperature stuff. So anyway, that can save somebody's life. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew about it. So hopefully this video helps.